In the Assassin's Creed universe, there are a lot of villains that have left huge marks over the course of the franchise. There are tons of people that steal the spotlight, but there is one person who is drastically overlooked. This man's accomplishments are some of the largest, most evil, and far-reaching we've ever seen in the franchise. He is responsible for the death of the protagonist of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Edward Kenway, the extinction of the assassins in London, and is arguably one of the greatest leaders the Templars have ever had. I am of course talking about Reginald Birch. Now, the average Assassin's Creed player probably doesn't know who he is, and that's because he only briefly appears in Assassin's Creed 3, and his exploits are mainly in the Assassin's Creed novels. In this video, we're going to go over Reginald Birch's life, motives, and legacy to show you why he is truly one of the best Assassin's Creed villains we've ever seen. The story starts off at the end of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Edward Kenway is done with his pirating and is ready to settle down in London and be a proper assassin. Edward and a man named Miko work together as co-leaders of the British assassins. Sean Hastings himself, an incredibly smart assassin and historian, said that it looked like the British assassins would be stronger than ever. Oh, how wrong he was. At this time, Edward would meet Birch, who was a lawyer and a very successful businessman. He managed a lot of Edward's properties, which allowed him to get very close to Edward. Birch was secretly a member of the British Templars, and his goal was to get information out of Edward. For around 12 years, Birch grew very close to the Kenway family. He became a regular visitor to the Kenway household and was eventually seen to be suitable to marry Jennifer, Edward's daughter. Although, to be fair, Jennifer didn't like him very much. It was around this time when Birch would meet a young Haytham Kenway. He'd be very nice to Haytham and get Haytham to like him, planting the seeds for turning Haytham into his ultimate weapon. Edward Kenway is a very intelligent assassin, so him not being able to realize that Birch was a Templar really shows you how skilled Birch was at manipulation. One moment that we'll quickly go over is when the Kenway family and Birch were going out. Randomly, a thief would try to steal Tessa Kenway's, Edward's wife's, necklace. Birch fought off the thief and was about to kill him, but was stopped by Edward. Reginald lets the thief go, but is really mad at Edward over that. He simply stares at Edward and refuses to shake his hand, but in an odd moment he seems to snap and remember himself and suddenly puts on a smile. He shakes Edward's hand and both of them put the encounter behind them. This small encounter shows Birch's manipulation. I doubt he really wanted to kill the thief because he probably doesn't care about Tessa Kenway in any way. He just wanted to show Edward how far he was willing to go for him in order to gain even more of Edward's trust. It was during this time he was trying to get his hands on Edward Kenway's journal, which was said to have information on the Isu, particularly the Grand Temple from AC3. One night he would run into the young Haytham playing with his toys. He'd strike up a conversation and eventually get Haytham to reveal a lot of information. Mainly that there was a secret compartment in one of the rooms and that Haytham had no idea what he was training for or that Edward was an assassin. Birch got all of this information by simply having a conversation with the young boy. A little later, Jenny would find out that Birch was a Templar and tell Edward. Edward would kick Birch out and hire some guards to watch over the Kenway Manor. What happens next is very infamous in the community. Birch organizes 5 mercenaries to attack the Kenway Manor and retrieve the journal. This results with Edward being killed, Jennifer being kidnapped, and the manor being burned down. At the end of the attack, Haytham would walk in on his dad being killed by one of the mercenaries and almost meet the same fate. Birch, however, would appear and kill the mercenary that killed Edward and save Tessa and Haytham, appearing to be a hero to the both of them. During the attack, Haytham saved his mom by killing a mercenary that was about to attack her. This would result with Tessa not seeing Haytham as an innocent boy, rather a killer. Reginald Birch would swoop in and sort of adopt Haytham, telling Haytham that they would go to Europe to quote-unquote search for Jennifer. Of course, Birch had already gotten rid of her by selling her into slavery. It was during this time Birch would reveal to Haytham what the Templars were and start training him. Haytham was already trained by Edward in terms of combat, and Birch himself said that Edward was the most skilled swordsman he'd ever seen. Whether or not that was true or just a way to manipulate Haytham is up for debate. He also tutored Haytham and is part of the reason why Haytham is so intelligent in the games. Birch's ability to see the potential in Haytham shows how well of a planner he was. Even when Haytham figured out that his father was an assassin, he stayed as a Templar, probably because of Birch's training. After Edward's death, Birch had a field day with the assassins. He had been playing nice for over a decade, but the mask was off now. Miko had taken up leadership of the order, and Birch was destroying the assassins like it was nothing. Miko even wrote to Achilles that the British Templars are pretty much a different breed. He told Achilles that you might have faced Templars before, but these British Templars are unlike anything you've ever seen. And you know who was leading them? Birch. Miko even said that Haytham was Birch's most deadly asset and that he himself, the mentor, feared facing Haytham. A little while later, Birch would task Haytham with killing Miko, the prologue of AC3, and after that the British assassins fell. Reginald would straight up destroy all assassin presence in London and kick them out to the countryside. London would stay in Templar control for over a century until AC Syndicate. If you thought wiping out one brotherhood was enough though, Birch would send the Templars over to the colonies to help out against the colonial brotherhood. People like George Monroe from Rogue are only there because Birch sent them. During all of this, Birch was able to manipulate Haytham and hide his involvement in Edward's death. There are multiple instances where Haytham was on the right track to finding out the truth about his father's death, and Birch just covers his tracks or throws Haytham completely off. He had Haytham running in circles while having Haytham also being his best agent. We kind of saw this in AC1 with Al-Malim and Altair, but Birch straight up does some crazy stuff and still has Haytham believing him. Haytham legit left Birch in a room with one of the witnesses of what happened that night, and Birch killed him. He convinced Haytham that the witness had died because of his previous wounds, and probably would have gotten away with it with zero suspicions. It was only because Haytham found another one of the mercenaries that he sort of questioned if Birch was telling the truth. Reginald Birch also played a pivotal role in Assassin's Creed Liberation. I know a lot of people didn't play it, so I'll briefly explain what was going on. There were a few Isu artifacts called the Prophecy Discs, and Birch was organizing all the expeditions to find them. There were tons of slaves, guards, and civilians tasked with locating them. He had entire operations moved around to simply avoid the assassins. Obviously, Aveline stopped a lot of them, but the fact that he was able to lead them all without being there is quite astonishing. It was during this time when Birch started focusing more on precursor artifacts. He of course sent Haytham to the colonies to find the Grand Temple. Haytham and his boys did a lot of things that the assassins did not like, and this caused Haytham and Birch to become main targets for the colonial assassins. Having an assassin brotherhood on the other side of the world make you one of their main targets is really telling of both Haytham and Birch's skill. Haytham, after the prologue of AC3, would track down his sister and not tell Birch about it. If he had told Birch that he found the location of his sister, it would be very likely that she would be moved somewhere completely different, probably somewhere like Antarctica or something. Birch likely was having fun playing this cat and mouse game with Haytham. Haytham would track Jennifer down and then they'd go after Birch. Even when outnumbered, he never lost his cool. He specifically made Jenny so mad that she'd attack him, and he was able to restrain her and sort of take her as a hostage to negotiate with Haytham. Even when he was about to die, he was manipulating people. It's just crazy. Of course, Haytham and Jenny did kill him, but his legacy was not forgotten. Even in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Birch is remembered by Henry Green. He says something along the lines that the Templars are so ruthless that it makes it look like Reginald Birch returned or something like that. We've pretty much gone over why I think he's such a good and evil villain in the franchise. The way he killed Edward, the manipulation of Haytham, him exterminating the assassins in London, his leadership, his planning, his strategy, his ruthlessness. He's nothing short of a mastermind. I pretty much gave you guys a basic summary of how great Birch is as a villain, and if you guys enjoyed this video, I would totally recommend checking out Assassin's Creed Forsaken. It's a great book and you can experience the story for yourself, and there's a lot I didn't cover in this video, so I highly recommend you check it out. With that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video or learned something new, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. If I missed or glossed over something, or if you just want to talk or leave your thoughts, the comments are always open. If you want me to cover another character or make a different Assassin's Creed type video, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now thank you all for watching and have a great rest of your day.